Chapter 12, No Longer Twain. The carriage pulled up to their new house, and Queen started crying. "This house is beautiful." Wanyenyekevu smiled. "Wait till I show you around. I hope you love it." Queen said, "Baby, I love it already." The driver stopped and helped them out of the carriage onto the stairway to the front door, saying, "Congratulations again, and good night." Queen rushed to open the door and turned on the lights, and there were gifts everywhere and nowhere to sit down. "Let's go upstairs," Wanyenyekevu said. "Not before I go get you some water," Queen insisted. Wanyenyekevu made it upstairs and flopped on the bed. Moments later, Queen shouted, "Where are you?" Wanyenyekevu shouted, "Follow my voice. Just come straight to the end of the hallway." Queen smiled while looking around. "This house is truly built for a queen." Wanyenyekevu said, "My queen, queen." Queen handed him the water and looked around for a bit. Wanyenyekevu drank the water, got up, and started showing her around the room. Queen walked up to a door. "What is this room for?" Wanyenyekevu looked at her, saying, "It's the bathroom, silly. You want a lot of kids, and I don't want to have to wait for them to use it. I grew up with a lot of relatives, and when you got to go, you got to go. I got the design from some of the old homes they used to build way back when, and Grace and her sisters did the rest for you." Queen was amazed. "It's almost as big as the bedroom, and this tub is huge, and the shower is clear across the other side of the room. I love it." Turning on the water, Queen said, "Oh, it's so hot." Wanyenyekevu smiled. "Elijah set up solar panels, so we have hot and cold water at all times. Plus, you've made me a happy man, and I will do all I can to return the favor." Queen smiled back at him, as she turns on the water in the shower. "You say some of the sweetest things, and I love you for that, but you have done the same for me, so the feelings are mutual. Now, get in this shower, man." Wanyenyekevu unbuttons the 3 buttons from Queen's dress and entire outfit falls to the ground. Wanyenyekevu takes off his top and bottom in the steamy room. Queen gives him a nervous look. "You're going to have to guide me through this. This is my first time." Wanyenyekevu said, "Mine's too." They both let out a sigh of relief. Queen confessed, "I was hoping you were, but if you weren't, I would have been okay, but now it's great." Wanyenyekevu smiled, "I feel the same way, so let's do this together." Queen smiled, "Okay." Queen gets in the shower, and then Wanyenyekevu, "Oh," shouts Wanyenyekevu. "Are we taking a shower, or are we cooking dinner? It's too hot." Queen laughed, "This is perfect for me." Wanyenyekevu stood to the side. "Oh, not for me. Baby, you gotta turn that down a bit." Queen turned down the heat. "How about now?" Wanyenyekevu said, "Lower." Queen asked, "And now?" Wanyenyekevu said, "Lower." Again, Queen asked, "And now?" Wanyenyekevu smiled, "Perfect." Queen insisted, "Man, this is too warm." Wanyenyekevu said as he grabbed the soap and towel, "You can cook yourself later, after I get out." He started lathering up the towel, and they started bathing each other. Wanyenyekevu was gentle, rubbed her entire body with soap, and told her to rinse herself off with the water. "You're finished?" Wanyenyekevu smiled, "Yes." Queen shook her head and started washing Wanyenyekevu hard and vigorously. "You must be thorough when bathing." She raised his arms, washed under his armpits, and grabbed his penis. "This is supposed to go inside me. You have to learn to do it correctly." She washed the staff and the head and rubbed his testicles ever so gently, and then he took some more soap and washed his butt crack, rubbing and scrubbing him thoroughly. "Now, you rise off." After he had finished, she looked at him. "Stand to the side for me." She turned the heat back up and took a thorough bath. "That's how you take a bath." Wanyenyekevu smiled. "All these years, I have been doing it wrong. Wash on, rinse off, and get out. I felt like I was a turkey getting ready to be cooked." Queen said, "I don't mind getting dirty, but I got to go to bed clean as a whistle. That's how I sleep like a baby." Wanyenyekevu laughed. I feel like I just lost a layer of skin, like someone just peeled a potato. Queen laughed and walked up to Wanyenyekevu. You are clean, the way I like it. They started kissing with the water flowing over their bodies, and the steam covered the entire room. While they were kissing, Wanyenyekevu's penis was hard as a rock and throbbing and pushed it to the left and right of Queen until Queen grabbed it and put it between her legs and, every once in a while, would lead on it and rub it against her clitoris to make herself wet. Wanyenyekevu got anxious and tried to put it in, but Queen would jump back. That hurts a little. They continued rubbing and holding each other tight, but Queen kept pulling back. This water is washing away my lubricants, let's get out of here and go to bed. Wanyenyekevu said, okay. They dried off, and Queen grabbed Wanyenyekevu's penis while it stood at attention, follow me, and I'm going to bring this with me. Queen felt Wanyenyekevu throbbing and jumping, saying, hold on, little man. Wanyenyekevu felt unsure of himself as he heard Aldhib's voice, a bruised cervix ain't no joke. That can last as long as a week. If you do that, you ain't getting no MO until that stomach pain or those cramps are gone, blood will be everywhere. You got to watch the angle you take it to her. If she has an ovarian cyst, you could rupture a cyst. Wanyenyekevu says, let me turn on the lights, Queen said. Later, I got to make sure it goes inside me correctly. She paused. My aunt told me what to do, but I don't know what I'm doing, Wanyenyekevu said. I like it, don't stop what you're doing but be you, and as long as I'm with you, I'm happy, but we got to learn from each other, we can learn from others, but we are our final teachers and students of each other. Queen laughed. Now, that bathing part was all me, and you're still drunk. Wanyenyekevu snapped his fingers, damn, and they both laughed. Wanyenyekevu and Queen knocked everything off the bed and pulled the sheets back. Lying there naked, Wanyenyekevu said, well, I learned some things too. He started rubbing on Queen's pubic hairs and started playing with them. Are you wet? Queen said. No. He started playing with her ears and rubbing the back of her thighs, and every time he would ask, are you wet? She would say, no. Wanyenyekevu placed a pillow beneath Queen's pelvic area. Okay, bend your knees, raise your pelvis in the air, and open your legs wide. Queen said, what are you going to do, surgery? They laughed. Wanyenyekevu said, okay. He got up and leaned against the wall and told Queen to face him, grasping her butt cheeks. A massage? Queen asked. Wanyenyekevu said, no, but I will remember that. Wrap your legs around me for support. Queen got excited, and Wanyenyekevu asked, where is your clitoris? Queen said. Clito what? Wanyenyekevu said. Maybe we're going off what people say, and instead of what we feel, I don't know. Queen said, maybe we're being too scientific about this thing. We are warriors. Just get on top of me. Sitting at the foot of the bed, Queen tried to put Wanyenyekevu's penis inside her, but the pain wouldn't allow her, and before they knew it, they were at the head of the bed, sweating and exhausted. Wanyenyekevu asked, where are you going now? Queen, out of breath, said, taking a break. Wanyenyekevu said aloud, good idea, and got up and played a song and looked at Queen and sang along with it. This is my favorite song when I think about you. Playing a piece by an ancient R&B artist, Johnny Gill, entitled Take Me, I'm Yours. As he was singing, he grabbed Queen's hand and sang along while dancing in the nude. Slurring his words, Queen looked at Wanyenyekevu as she felt his words from the song. Wanyenyekevu rubbed his eyes and stumbled to the bed, I'm drunk. He whispered to Queen and fell back and fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. Queen climbed on top of Wanyenyekevu, I am too, and fell asleep. The next morning, Queen woke Wanyenyekevu with his penis in her hand, rubbing it against her clitoris. Are we being warriors again? He said, no, but I found my clitoris, and this feels great. Her nipples became sensitive, blood pressure and pulse rose as her vagina became lubricated. "Rub my breast," she demanded. "Gently," she whispered. Wanyenyekevu did as commanded because he, too, felt good and got excited because he thought they were getting somewhere. Hormones surged through their body, and Queen got so excited that she pushed Wanyenyekevu inside her. They both jump as Wanyenyekevu's penis tears Queen's hymen, and their blood intermingled as endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin rushed throughout their entire body. No longer twain, but as one. They heard a small whisper in their ears. They pulsated as sweat covered their bodies as they continued hugging and kissing. Queen's breast swelled, and commands from Queen became more and more demanding. Wanyenyekevu flipped Queen over, and she opened her legs wider. The pain was there, but the feelings they had were greater. Their worlds became intertwined, and a bond was fixed. Wanyenyekevu continued to please Queen as he gyrated and pulsated, and they had a feeling they couldn't explain, but they felt it rising within their bodies. A feeling much like a gentle shock of electricity filled up in them, and then simultaneously, they felt a great release. The sounds from both of them became loud, and Queen yelled. Wanyenyekevu felt a strong sense of electricity running throughout his body uncontrollably as if he had lost his motor skills, and a great voice was heard again, "What God has put together, let no man put asunder." Wanyenyekevu rests on top of Queen for a second and rolls off her. Out of breath as blood, sweat, and tears covered the bed, they refused to get up because it was proof of their love, and they dropped back to sleep. Hours had passed, and Queen saw Wanyenyekevu staring up at the ceiling. "A penny for your thoughts," she asked. Wanyenyekevu said, "Oh, nothing, just thinking, how a lot of things that I heard people say before about sex, I never really understood until today. All I knew was it wasn't right to have sex before marriage, but many do. The feeling is truly wonderful, like a natural high, and people have abused the one most beautiful thing of Sabaoth. I see now how having sex before marriage can truly leave you open to sexual demons. I understand soul ties. When two spirits are joined together in the spiritual realm. Having that with someone who couldn't care less about you can damage a person. So, soul ties are healthy and unhealthy. I see how an ungodly relationship ends, negative emotions develop, and hatred is formed. All these thoughts are rushing through my head as I think about my conversion and the people and places I have been. That's all. You cannot truly understand certain things unless you experience them." Queen had seduction in her eyes, saying, "Baby, let's talk about this later. I do agree, and I understand, but I'm still in a lot of pain, but let's do it again." Wanyenyekevu smiled and raised his eyebrows. "Okay, gonna do it again, do it, do it, do it. Let's do it again, do it. Do it again." Queen laughed, "You're so silly." Wanyenyekevu continued singing, "Let's Do It Again," by the Staple Singers as he touched her nose. "Now I like you, lady. So fine, with your pretty hair. If you don't mind my compliments." 2 days later, strangers showed up at Madden at Altenwer. They hadn't been there in years and were unaware of the many things that had changed since they left, asking for Wanyenyekevu, and they did not and would not utter a word to anyone unless it was him or the other 8. They wouldn't even speak to Friedrich, whose battalion was their training. A knock was at the door. Wanyenyekevu didn't want to be bothered because he was sore and didn't want to be embraced. Cracking the door open as he poked his head, "Whosoever it is, please tell them I am busy, for I just got married." Naassi, the messenger, stood outside the door saying, "We have told them all of this, but they just sit there and will not say a word unless it's you or the other 8, so Friedrich sent me here to tell you." Wanyenyekevu said in a curious voice, "The other 8? Naassi said, "That's how they said it, the other 8. Wanyenyekevu thought for a minute and said out loud, "It hasn't been 8 of us since." He then shouted, "I'll be right out," and slammed the door. He rushed upstairs and got dressed, telling Queen, "There were visitors at Madden at Altenwer that I have to see, and I'll be back as soon as possible." Upon arrival at Madden at Altenwer, Friedrich met Wanyenyekevu. I didn't detain them, for their spirits agreed with me, and it felt as if it was important. They have been fed, showered, and are now comfortable as guests. Wanyenyekevu saw the men and quickly embraced them. It was Kenji and Jamie, and their spirits had not changed, for these were the two men who had led Wanyenyekevu to the abyss and were sent to spy on the activities in El Paso. Wanyenyekevu called an emergency meeting. Those that knew the two embraced them. Jamie stood up. First thing I would like to say is so much has changed, and I love how it looks. We were able to keep in contact with each other as you ordered for the first year, but lost touch after a while. But as soon as we reunited, we made our way back. The Compuyudan's entire way of life has changed recently. With these changes, the Anacatas are now welcomed with open arms, and Wakatilians are enslaved once again. These changes have caused a lot of confusion and hatred for the Wakatilians. There are rumors that something happened in the Arizona desert, but when we heard them talking about the death of an Abenian and Oedipus, we knew it was time to return. They began training a select few for combat, and many Compuyudans, because of their life of luxuries, poor diets, and ignorance, many of them came back without arms, legs, and other extremities, and some even died. The Anacatas are volunteering in hordes, allowing them to live inside the bubble city for their services. This is something I have never heard of. The Compuyudans became insecure and jealous, fearing they would be banished from the city because they didn't know how to fight. They offered their children to train. They are consolidating these bubbles into major metropolitan areas like New York, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, and, simultaneously, closing the smaller ones according to a few maps I made a few copies of on our way out. We joined the training and were sent to many planets for different training exercises. After a year, we got separated because of the different training we were qualified for. Just like in the days of old with genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and autonomous vehicles, they have reopened the doors to biological weapons that target ethnic groups based on genetics, like those in the abyss, but they run into problems. And I knew it was Sabaoth causing the issues with their plans. Kenji continued as Jamie took a seat. They trained me as a transportation specialist, Jamie, in communication, but they are definitely creating an army to destroy us. And they have made the people warriors instead of lazy bumps, sitting around getting fat. The death of many created a slight sense of rebellion among them, but they are slowly becoming formidable fighters, and they will soon be ready for war. They have sky crafts the size of tanks under construction to destroy the buildings and walls. El Paso will come from the east, and Phoenix will come from the west and enclose us like a box. They are not quite ready. Friedrich stood up. Satan, himself, has informed us it will be in 25 years. It will take time to transform out of shape, lazy individuals into fearless warriors. Mind games must be in place and even kill some of them to make them fearless unto death. Prophecy is being fulfilled, and God is not playing. A couple of years ago, Sabaoth said, he would stir in the Gulf and the Atlantic as in a great pot. And his fist would go through the bottom of the earth and send a slow flood. Many cities would be underwater, and some would disappear forever because humanity refuses to change its ways and is getting farther away from the God of their fathers and mothers and the authentic ways of Sabaoth. The blanket of deception covering the land has been thrown, and reaching many will be impossible. We see it everywhere. Many who were in the presence of truth and exposed to prophecies have hardened their hearts or sank into deceptive religions and corrupted faiths to escape the truths that once saved them. Denying the God that once saved them, they are bringing on themselves swift destruction. Those not submitting themselves to the righteousness of God have gone out to establish their own religions, refusing to submit to the righteousness of the truth or the faith that once delivered them. We see all these things now coming to pass. Salvation for many is fading. Their technology is not in sync with Sabaoth's plans. But Sabaoth will cover Wanyenyekevu's home in Louisiana and our Arizona territories only for a season. Friedrich looked up and saw the look on everyone's faces. I wasn't intending on saying all of that. I opened my mouth, and the words of Sabaoth took over, Yusisahau. They responded. Never forget, as he continued, I was just going to say, we had a visitor on Wanyenyekevu's wedding day, and it all makes sense. They want a fight, they'll get one. Jamie stood up again, looking at Obe. They describe a man like you as having great power they feared. Wanyenyekevu said, good, you don't remember? He looks intimidating, but he's gentle as a teddy bear. It is not him they should fear, but as long as they think it's him, we are good cause he is indestructible. You too must get enlightened, and then we will prepare a spot for you to relax and get much needed rest. Good job. 3 hours had passed, and Jamie and Kenji finished their debriefing. As Wanyenyekevu was about to jump on his sky craft, Aldhib noticed Wanyenyekevu was having problems getting on. What's up, bow-legged Lou needs some help. Wanyenyekevu looked at Jonathan. Only you can make a man laugh when things are serious. Don't change, that's an order. The newlyweds' home was still filled with unwrapped presents 2 months after the wedding, and Wanyenyekevu's garden was a mess. One morning, Wanyenyekevu rose early to clean out his garden, pulling weeds, pruning, topping, and placing poles in certain places to hold up certain plants. Wanya, come and eat, shouted Queen. Frustrated at how badly he let the garden get, he threw down his tools and headed toward the house. Morning, baby. Queen saw the frustration. Morning, between all these presents and running out of room to put them anywhere, I know how you feel. Wanyenyekevu smiled. Yeah, but I gotta get it straight before the tomatoes, cantaloupes, and cucumbers start to grow everywhere and start to look like a forest instead of a garden. I should have it straightened out by the end of the week. Why don't you take a break and visit your auntie? I'll be all day till at least 4 or 5. I'll help you with the stuff inside tonight when I finish, so we'll both have peace of mind. Queen smiled. Now, that sounds like a good idea. Queen took her time and headed down the road on her horse, Sparkle, visiting friends she knew along the way. Her mouth watered when she smelled the aroma just before arriving at Dark Eagle and Aunt Isabel's house. Auntie Belle, you in there? Walking toward the door, where else? I'm going to be, too old to be out there running around on horses like you, child. Come on in, while I cook supper. Whipping up some cornbread, Auntie Belle pours a little of the batter into a bowl. Dark Eagle loves him some hot water cornbread. This is for him. She poured the rest into a cast-iron skillet, placed it in the oven, and took a seat. Got a taste for some mustard green and cornbread. Are you staying for supper? It'll be ready as soon as that cornbread gets finished. Queen smiled. Do you really need to ask, Auntie Belle? Aunt Isabel looked at Queen happily. You got that glow, Anaya. Queen was confused. What's a glow? Aunt Isabel smiled. It might be nothing, but have you been spotting? Queen was blushing. Yup, me and Wanya been going at it non-stop. Aunt Isabel was embarrassed and laughed. No, child, have you been having waves of nausea? Seen changes in your breast? Frequent urination? Craving for food? Stuff like that. Queen said. Yes, but I thought you get that after having sex a lot. Aunt Isabel laughed again. No, girl, you're pregnant. Go see Mama a pony tomorrow and get yourself checked out, but I'm pretty sure you are. Queen was so happy that she rushed home to tell Wanyenyekevu. Wanyenyekevu was not there upon arriving home, so she went to the garden but heard him in the field, Storm, shouting at one of the new Maras, stop eating all the food from your sister. Queen ran toward Wanyenyekevu. Wanya. Wanya. Wanyenyekevu had a smile on his face. Queen, we need to separate this one from the rest, he's so greedy. Look at him. Queen just stood there with a smile on her face and didn't say a word. What got you so happy? Wanyenyekevu asked. Queen started talking so fast that Wanyenyekevu couldn't keep up. I went to my friend's house, and we talked for a while, and then Wanyenyekevu got excited just seeing Queen's excitement as she went into detail about every move she had made since she left. And Joy was busy cleaning. Wanyenyekevu tried hard to keep up, but with no luck. And then I went over Auntie's house, and she. Wanyenyekevu gave up, trying to follow along as he grabbed Queen's hand and started walking toward the house. Dark Eagle loves hot water cornbread, Queen said as she opened the door. You know we've been going at it non-stop. Wanyenyekevu stopped as he was embarrassed, but Queen didn't notice as she kept talking. Spotting and always hungry. Wanyenyekevu was scratching his head as he tried to keep up with Queen, but he was more confused now than when she first started. Baby, and Queen blurred out, I think we're pregnant. Wanyenyekevu stopped in his tracks, a baby. Wanyenyekevu quickly told Queen to sit down and he started talking uncontrollably. You need something to eat? Are you hungry? Here, rest. What do I need to do? Baby? He stopped and shouted excitedly, we're having a baby. Wanyenyekevu started pacing the floor. I'll go and get some fruits and vegetables and some water. Wanyenyekevu ran out of the house and returned 30 minutes later with fruits and vegetables, and then ran back out to his shed and gathered up some red raspberry leaf, ginger, garlic, rosemary, slippery elm, sage, pennyroyal, and stocked the kitchen cabinets with fresh and dried herbs. Queen said. What are you going to do with all that? Wanyenyekevu said. It's good for when you are pregnant. Queen laughed. Go get one of those chickens and smother it up with some green beans, some corn, and some seasoned rice is what you need to stock up on. Wanyenyekevu smiled. You can have that too, but wait and see what I have in store for you. He started cooking. I'm not used to this high-tech stuff Elijah and Aldhib have made, but it comes in handy. We have iceboxes, not ref. Queen saw Wanyenyekevu stuttering and said, refrigerator? What is an icebox? Smiling, he said, we have these guys who make ice in large blocks, and we put them in the bottom of a box and put the food on top, and it keeps everything cool for a long time, and every week we go get some more. Wanyenyekevu raised both his arm as if he had said something. Hence, icebox. Queen laughed and tapped on the refrigerator. Hence, refrigerator, you're so country. Wanyenyekevu refused to let Queen do any work as he cooked and cleaned and then did the necessary job he needed to do around the house until the child was born. Around the 6th month, Queen was complaining about being cold one moment and then suddenly turning hot. Wanyenyekevu rushed her to see Mama Aponi, who requested to see the child through ultrasound. Any morning sickness or other? Queen interrupted, no, Mama, I haven't any problems with anything except just eating up the house, and recently this getting hot and then quickly getting cold and vice versa. Taking some gel and rubbing them on a pad, Mother Aponi started rubbing Queen's stomach, looking at the child before she quickly jumped up in surprise. She was shaking her head. In disbelief, twins. Truly, the gifts of Sabaoth are without repentance because your children are already enlightened. One has the gift to create fire and the other ice. They are playing with each other with their gifts. Try rubbing your stomach to stop them from playing so much, because other than that, they and you are healthy. Excited, relieved, and now anxious, Wanyenyekevu took Queen back home and continued to cater to Queen as they awaited the arrival of the twins. Wanyenyekevu stood in the kitchen one day and stared out the window at the stars as he put up the last dish after cleaning the kitchen. Sabaoth, he said in a humble voice. Make me an image you will be proud of and allow your people to do right in your eyes. Many have been fooled into believing wrong is right and right is wrong for so long. Many have come but bring even more to us. The wickedness of our enemies has distorted those who seek the truth, and their hearts are confused about what is truth. Men are against men, women against women, and even themselves. As Wanyenyekevu spoke, Wanya, oh Wanya, shouted Queen. Wanya. Wanyenyekevu ran upstairs as fast as he could. What? What's wrong? Queen looked down at the bed. My water, my Water broke. Wanyenyekevu ran downstairs and forgot why he ran down there. What do I do? He yelled. Call for Mama a pony and get my auntie here too, shouted Queen. Wanyenyekevu ran back upstairs. Grabbing his earpiece, the babies are coming. Call Isabel. Call Mama a pony. Call everyone that's supposed to be here, a voice came over the earpiece, Wanyenyekevu. This is Patrick at the armory. Everyone knows now, 'cause you broadcasted it to everyone. You didn't call any particular person. You called everyone. They will be there as soon as possible. I imagine there will be a few more as well. The first midwife came and started boiling water. Everyone was at his home before he knew it. Wanyenyekevu paced downstairs while Jom and all his commanders came to comfort him. A few hours later, what seemed to be a lifetime, Mama a pony and the other midwives came down and said, "You may go see your girls." Running up the stairs, he smiled as he opened the doors and kissed Queen's forehead, "My queen and princesses." Holding both the babies in his hands, he couldn't stop smiling. "I want to name her," pointing at the skinny, light-skinned one, Jayla. Wanyenyekevu then said, "I want this one," pointing with his head by nodding, "after the person who has made a difference in my life, and I love her so much." Queen called Wanyenyekevu's mother's name, Aba. He said, "No, you and her name will be Anaya." Queen said, "One Anaya is good enough." Wanyenyekevu smiled, "No, there's not enough of them." Queen smiled, "Since you put it that way, Anaya, it is."